Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session of the First Responder and Veterans Wellbeing Summit. I'm Donnay. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Wellbeing Australia, and on behalf of the board, welcome to today's session. I will be your host today, and joining us is the fabulous Alison, who I'll introduce in a minute. But thank you all for being here for what promises to be another very valuable and thought-provoking session. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. We recognise their enduring contribution and connection to land, water, culture and community, and honour their contribution across generations. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things before we get underway today, and I hand over to Alison. Today's session is being recorded and will be available on our websites in the coming days to all registered participants. So those websites are either firstresponderwellbeingsummit.com.au or wellbeingaustralia.com.au. Secondly, depending on time, Alison's happy to take a few questions at the end of today's session. So please pose a question at any time, and if we have time at the end, Alison will get to answer those. Thirdly, we'd love to hear what you think of today's session, and we really value your feedback. So as you're logging off today, you'll see a survey that comes up asking you a couple of questions about how you enjoyed today, what you liked, what we could improve on, just so that we're continuing to improve on these sessions and provide what you really find valuable. And finally, we've also curated some wonderful resources for you that will be emailed out in the 4 weeks following this webinar, so one a week for 4 weeks. So to make sure that those don't land up in your junk file, please can you just add Wellbeing Australia to your address list and look out for those and let us know if you don't receive them, because we'll make sure that we send those then directly to you. Excellent. So let's get started. Well, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Alison. Alison is a multidimensional woman, as you'll no doubt get to see very soon. She's an aviation firefighter, certified coach, a peer counsellor, and the founder of She Is Ready Empowerment Network. She also serves on the board of Women in Firefighting Australasia. In She Is Ready, Alison draws on almost 13 years of frontline service to share what helps women thrive.
Thanks very much. I'm not sure what happened then. I'm not sure if I've frozen or perhaps you froze, but anyway, thank you very much for having me. I'll continue anyway. We do have slides to refer to. However, the beginning of this was more or less around my story anyway, and how I became a firefighter. So I've been a firefighter since 2012. Yes, I am an aviation rescue firefighter and I work for Air Services Australia. So I currently am positioned on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland. Prior to that, I spent almost 10 years in Sydney. Now, prior to being a firefighter, just to get the backstory a little, I was a personal trainer, have always been involved in sports. I've coached a lot of teams since high school, and really was what probably led me to becoming a firefighter. Had I known I could have applied to be a firefighter and had the belief that I would pass the physical and had all the attributes to become a firefighter, I may have joined earlier. However, I think the time that I did join was probably right for me, in the sense that I was a mum, I had children, and I think I was ready. I'd played a lot of sports in my time. I've owned restaurants, we've owned cafes, and co-owned a couple of CrossFit gyms. So we know what it's like to have a full plate, and this is probably where Donna was talking about having a lot to do and a lot of experiences in my career, which has actually brought me to where I am now in the wellbeing space and working with more of the resilience side and helping women. I truly believe that all women should deserve to thrive in their careers, and it's what I work towards now. When I first joined as a firefighter and went to my recruit course, I was just so excited about having passed the physical and getting through and starting a career that was going to be the most amazing job that I'd ever dreamed of. And then I hit the station, and as you do when you're about to go in on your first day, you're excited and, you know, you think that this is amazing that you're even here. However, it wasn't long before I was faced with, you know, the misogyny and the sexism, the discrimination, and all the little things that I didn't know existed in a male-dominated area, I suppose. And I don't think it was so much as coming from a hurtful space when things were said to me. I just think that they didn't know any better. However, we've come, you know, almost 13 years since then, and it still exists. So, which has led me down this journey of building resilience, especially with women in the front line. So let me know, Donna, when you are back. Oh, she's had to reboot. So anyway, moving through. So I'm also a mum of 5, and I do have 3 grandchildren. So another important thing about being a firefighter is that whole work-life balance, which I've really loved with my career, is being able to really be there for the kids, you know, and have a rewarding career as well. There's been so many things as a firefighter. I think one of the most important is probably the biggest rewarding thing for me is probably saving a life. You know, there's nothing like it than when you know you've actually done your best and the person that you've potentially, you know, or you've performed CPR on survives, or, you know, maybe you've done everything you can. It's not always the case, but there's nothing better than saving a life, in my opinion. So even with all the ups and downs that you have throughout your career, that's definitely a highlight, which quite often we're never really acknowledged for, but that feeling that you get when you have actually done something to help another human is, absolutely amazing. So again, my story around building resilience and how I came to where I am now was being faced with a lot of challenges throughout my career, whether it be transitioning through all the different times and thinking that I was alone quite often and not really knowing who to turn to when I needed the support. Back in 2014, I was fortunate to have been sent along with a co-worker to Women in Firefighting Australasia conference, which was held in Canberra. And it's actually where I met most of the people who have really, I've lent on to keep me going forward. And that can look different for everyone. But for me, that meeting in 2014, going to that conference and connecting with other women who had either paved a path for us and they were doing the things that you never thought you could do, really changed my perspective. It's probably what has kept me in my career for as long as I've been. There may have been times where I could have actually probably left on a number of occasions, but thanks to the WAFA conference that I attended in 2014, I still am really close friends with a lot of the people that I met at that conference, and the conference itself was life-changing. So thanks. I can see that, Johnny, you have the slides back up. Interesting, this photo that I have on there too. I had a little giggle because I've never actually used the photo before, because I look at it and kind of laugh because it's a great photo, but to me it's not actually what my career has been about, saving kittens from fires and blazing fires, as what we have here. But anyway, I thought I'd use the picture because it'd give me an opportunity to post it somewhere, because I've never used it before. So as you can see there, now that I'm looking at it, I have been a firefighter since 2012, personal trainer. I'm now a trauma coach and a root cause therapist. And I have started my own empowerment network, which is the She Is Ready Empowerment Network. Thanks. Next slide. We have skipped through. I have been continuing to talk. Just based, there's my family, my 5 kids with my husband and mum. There's my 3 grandchildren. And the photo on the right is actually a photo of my crew back in Sydney when we did a Queenstown ski trip. And the reason I put that in there is quite often frontline workers will always relate or refer to their work family. You spend so much time with them that they become really important to you, and that the support that they give you is essential. Thank you. Next slide. And this picture is actually from the 2014 conference in Canberra, and there are a number of people in this photo who I still, liaise with and talk to quite often on a regular basis, and they have been really important in shaping my career. And like I said, even continuing to keep me in the job. Next. So talking about women in firefighting Australasia and what it is, and for me, it really has been connection. It's so much more than that, but to me, connection has been really paramount in keeping me focused and keeping me going forward. And this quote here from Brene Brown says it really well. The energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship is everything that Women in Firefighting Australasia has meant to me, with the connections that I've had with other people. Thank you. So which brings me to leading through life and career transitions. I do have a couple of questions that I'd like you to actually think about. For example, what's one transition you've gone through, personal or professional, that shaped who you are today? And what support do you wish you had during a past transition? Just things to think about. A couple of the transitions that I suppose we hear from a lot of women in particular in the job is, finding out that you're pregnant and then they don't know what to do. But not only do they not know what to do, their fire commanders or senior management don't know what to do either. Even when it comes to, potentially they're not even 12 weeks yet and they're not allowed to, or they don't want to announce that they're pregnant, but they need to let them know at work what that does to them when they need to be removed from the trucks, the excuses that they need to use. And, there's a whole multitude of things that come with finding out that you're pregnant when you are on shift. Another one is, just becoming a new mum or having another child and how that impacts your home life. So, things need to change. You might transition from working with your crew on shift work, and then you change to having to do day work where you might now be doing Monday to Friday. And for me in particular, when I had to go to day work, I then had to find childcare for the children that were in school, which really affected the way that I worked as well. And it was a really unknown territory, and no one really knew what to do when I was at work. And it seems to be, we have a lot of policies in place across most of the organisations. However, as a person, you can feel so alone and so isolated when nobody else knows what to do either. Whether it's finding meaningful work or something to do when you are at station, as we know that when you're on a station life, there may not be meaningful work for you there when you are pregnant and doing Monday to Friday instead of on shift with your crew. And me in particular now too is, being perimenopausal or menopausal, they're transitions that we go through as women. However, there are other transitions that we go through, whether it's stepping into leadership roles and, stepping up and feeling isolated again. And going back to Women in Firefighting Australasia, for me, it's one of those places where you can reach out to women from across all different organisations. You can reach out to them and find out what they're doing. And you have just such a wealth of knowledge and support that it can actually make a big difference when you are transitioning through certain, parts of your career. Can I get the next slide as well, please? So for women in frontline services, the stakes often do feel higher, and what helps most is clarity, courage, and community. And when I say clarity, I'm talking about having that vision and purpose and knowing what you need to do as you move through, having the courage to actually to stand up and say, be courageous about the things that you actually need from your supportive crew, and then also to your community, having somebody to lean on and knowing that you have that support there when you need it most. Exploring your values. We talk about exploring your values and knowing how to lead authentically and with conviction too. If you really do know what your values are, you'll know if you're going against your values when you're transitioning through all of these different periods. We talk more about this in a number of the courses that we deliver. Because as you know, we thrive when we understand our values. We feel confident making bold decisions and have others who believe in us, even when we're uncertain. Leadership in particular isn't about having all the answers. It's about moving forward with intention, even in uncertainty. And again, it's our community and our support group who will actually, help us rise up and really believe in ourselves. Transitions definitely don't need to be faced alone. Quite often you can feel isolated when you don't have the support. We have a number of women who are the only females on their stations who can quite often be the first person to transition through different things, whether it be pregnant or not. And they could be the first time in that particular station. However, by staying connected to community, you can actually reach out and find out that there are, women who have been through certain things that you've been through. So community and connection is really important. Knowing your purpose, planning for it, because quite often planning, you may not know what to expect. So being able to lean on your community again and, knowing that those people make all the difference. So again, think of the last big transition that you faced and what helped you through it, or what did you wish you have? So how to overcome self-doubt and build resilience? Again, other questions for you to think about. What does your inner critic say to you? And would you ever say it to a friend? What would change for you if you believe that self-doubt doesn't mean stop? It just means stretch. When you think of the word resilience, who comes to mind and why? So I work with so many incredible women, strong, skilled, highly trained, and yet the things I hear most often is, I'm not sure I'm good enough. Does that sound familiar? It's actually something I've said quite often. Self-doubt doesn't mean you're weak. It means you care. But when you let it run the show, we stop applying, stop speaking, and stop leading. So for me, again, having that network and that community of supportive people around you makes all the difference when you're feeling alone. Quite often we've reached out to some females who, just to let them know that we've been available to them at any point in time, and have actually been refused or just told that they're good and they don't need any assistance. We've found that a couple of years down the track, they have actually stumbled across some things where they have needed some help. But just by letting them know that we are available to them, they have actually come back to us a couple of years later and made a point of now reaching areas in their careers where they've, they have the self-doubt, whether it's still through transitioning, and haven't quite had the support. So again, support is really important when it comes to building resilience when self-doubt creeps in. And also too, let's flip the script. What would you say to a colleague who was doubting herself the way that you do? So resilience, back one more, just wanted to touch on resilience again, because it isn't about never struggling, it's about knowing how to bounce back with strength and self-trust. By challenging internal narratives, owning our wins and creating habits of mental fitness, we can turn self-doubt into self-belief. And resilience is often referred to as moving forward despite adversity. Thanks, Donna. So again, this was at the 2023 conference, which was held in Queensland, and this was at Brisbane. So again, it's another all agencies experience in aviation demonstration, and it allows not just career firefighters, but it allowed for volunteers to attend, and this is open to everybody to attend who can come down and actually see firsthand what we do in our jobs, and just to give them that belief that it is possible, that they can come down and they can get their hands on and they can get all, wet and dirty, and know that they actually have the confidence to go ahead and become a firefighter as a career. Next slide, please. And it's a great opportunity again for women to come together and just really connect, because quite often you'll find that your group, your tribe that you've built are often quite alike and aligned, and it makes such a huge impact. So this here as well is at the same Queensland Hot Fire exhibition, and you can see people having an opportunity there to, you know, with CFBT training, or you can see in the picture on the right, they're out there actually holding the hoses and extinguishing the fires. So again, hands-on experience that is, it's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity for everyone to attend, and an opportunity for you to catch up with friends again. So these photos here, I've got how to move through career and life transitions with confidence still. For me, what's really important is being a personal trainer throughout my life has really shown me that when you're training for something, you can either, you know, reach your peak fitness, and you can plan to get there. The same thing is said for mental fitness as well. And if you have an awareness around what it is when you are at your peak, when your mental fitness is, you know, traveling really well, and all the things that actually contribute to creating great mental fitness. It's similar to physical fitness as well. For example, I've got these photos in here because over the last couple of years in the transfer to Sunshine Coast for me, I actually wasn't aware that I was sort of dipping into that depression area where my mental fitness, my mental health wasn't actually where it should have been. And I hadn't noticed, but had I been more aware of the things that were important to me in keeping my mental fitness well, it would have been things like exercise and sport. So for example, here I've got a picture of me just doing a session at CrossFit Contessa, which is an all-female CrossFit gym. As mentioned, we have co-owned a couple of CrossFit gyms ourselves, my husband and I. And when we sold the gyms and moved to Sunshine Coast, I hadn't realised that one of the things that I'd let go of that I'd loved more than anything was training. And CrossFit I absolutely love because I really do love change, and the fact that you can go into a gym and experience something new each time was really, I suppose, important. I noticed that I'd let that go. The other thing for me was playing sport. I've played sport my whole life, and it was another thing that I'd let go of. But this picture on the right here and the one in the middle is me playing touch football recently in an over 50s team. And it's amazing to see that when you bring the things back into your life, how you can have that understanding of how mental fitness works for you. So it's very individual, and it's, you know, what each person loves. But for me, knowing that training and sport are both really important to me, and that keeps me at my ultimate mental fitness peak. So next picture, next frame. So again, and the role that peers and leaders and partners can play in helping women succeed. It isn't a solo pursuit. Women thrive when they're supported by leaders who advocate, peers who listen without judgment, and partners who share the load. Culture shifts when those around us see our potential and actively help us rise, whether it's a conversation, a nomination, or simply holding space. The influence of others can be the difference between staying stuck and stepping forward. Another thing that for me, having a community from Women in Firefighting Australasia has really made a massive difference. When one woman rises, others follow, but it takes all of us to build the kind of support that makes lasting success possible. Next slide, please. Again, an opportunity for inspiration, empowerment, everything that we really do need. This was possibly the 2016 conference on the left with Chief Joan Alison. And on the right, that was Chief Kelly Martin. That would have been 2018, I believe, in Wellington, at the Wellington conference. Just seeing women who have led the way for us has... it's paramount, and it's really important for us to see. And when you do get to meet them and hear their stories, you know you're not alone, and you can see that they've been, you know, paving this path for years. So it's really important to get amongst the community. Next slide, please. Again, this is at the Wellington conference, and again, getting to catch up with friends that you've met over the years and be inspired by a lot of people. I love this photo because there are a lot more males in this photo, and it shows that we do have a lot more male allies come to the party, and it's nice to be able to see in a picture. But Women in Firefighting Australasia has meant a lot to me, and I think that everything that they do with regards to, supporting women, promoting women, has made all the difference. And again, in these pictures here, they're women that I've met who were from New Zealand, Fire Rescue New South Wales. I've had the pleasure of catching up with them on numerous occasions. I love the picture in the middle because Michelle Engelsman, she was a firefighter with Fire Rescue New South Wales on maternity leave. And I just think it was absolutely amazing that her agency supported her to attend the conference and actually take her baby with her, which is how it should be. But yeah, it's amazing. So, for me, in closing, I suppose, what does being ready mean to you? And what if you already are?
Thank you so much for that presentation. Really do appreciate it. Alison, one question, and we'll come to some of the questions now. One question that's come through consistently is the resources that WAFA has and how people can get involved in that if they're interested, both leaders, peers, as well as women themselves, obviously.
Absolutely. So we do have a membership, and it is only $25 per year, but on our website you'll have access to all the resources that we have available. Over the years there's been numerous amounts of resources that have been collated, surveys, a number of things and even support. The support is there. So you don't even have to be a member, to be honest with you, but join because the resources become available to you if you are a member. But if you need support, we're always available.
Fabulous. That's wonderful. So one of the questions come through from Rosemary, which is a great one. Any suggestions for people getting assistance to attend conferences and engage in networking? Do you have any ideas or suggestions on how people get to do that?
Absolutely. Depending on what organisation you are working with, quite often there is always something in their budget to be able to allow people to attend the conferences. It's not necessarily just for firefighting, but Frontline. I know that one of the first conferences that I attended in Canberra, we had Defence Force leaders there delivering presentations which were amazing. So it's, people come from all walks.
Fabulous. Another question that's come through here, Alison, from Quinn. She just said, awesome, great presentation. If you could go back to recruit yourself, what would you tell yourself? Which I think is incredible.
Not just my recruit course, I tell myself that now actually the same things is... I think I mentioned through the presentation, what would you tell a colleague? Mine is what I tell my daughters. I have 2 daughters, and I would not want them to go through half of what I've experienced in my career. So for me, it's definitely get that connection. You need that tribe around you. And even if it's just not even women who are actually in the service, even if it's your friends, and it doesn't have to be your colleagues, but you need those trusted women in your corner who can actually come to your aid when you have that self-doubt. Because for me, I let go of pressing forward when I was, met with misogyny or whatever it was through fear, really. Whereas now I'd say, stand up for yourself. And let them know that it's not okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so difficult at the time sometimes to have the confidence to speak up and say that's not okay. But I guess that's what you were talking about, the preparation, is how do you actually, in a sense, almost put yourself through those situations mentally and prepare yourself for how you're going to respond and how to stand up and how to speak more kindly to yourself. Another question that's come through, just before I move to that, there was a note to say that from Rosemary as well, to remind us that women in leadership do often offer scholarships as well.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
which is a great reminder that there are lots of resources, I think, to support us. How can male colleagues and supervisors be better allies in supporting the success of women, especially those in frontline roles?
For me personally, I think it's actually listening to us. So when they want to be an ally, listen to what we're saying and support. That way, when they do move forward and they are actually, trying to raise you up, it's genuine.
Yeah.
I think it really helps when you do feel listened, heard, and valued. It makes a massive difference. And we get too many men who just think, well, not too many, but often a lot of men think they're doing the right thing, but they haven't actually listened to what our needs quite actually, might be.
Mm-hmm. The problem solving based on what they receive rather than any prior assumptions, I think, is an important one. And another question I have here for you, Alison, is what's the one mindset or belief that's really helped you stay grounded through all your transitions in life? And it looks like you've had many.
I'm actually quite competitive by nature. However, winning isn't everything. Actually, that doesn't even make sense, does it? But for me, it's that challenge. The minute I'm met with a challenge, and especially if I know it's ill-intended, I tend to want to fight for the right thing. So I will always move forward if I know that it's the right thing to do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Alison, for sharing your experiences, your story, your wisdom, both personally and also as a member of the board of the Women in Firefighting Australasia. We really do appreciate your time here today. And thank you all to you for joining us. And hopefully you got some really valuable information out of this session. Before we close, we do want to remind you that if anything raised today has brought up any difficult feelings, please know that you're not alone and support is available. At the end, I'll leave a slide on the screen for a few moments with some support services. Well, on behalf of the team, thank you again for being part of the First Responder and Veteran Wellbeing Summit of 2025, and we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you so much.